Welcome to my podcast. This is a podcast where I'll be teaching you all the systems and strategies you need in creating your visibility so you can turn your passion for coaching into a profitable business. I'm your host, Michelle Kuei. I am a visibility coach, content and email marketing strategist, international speaker, and author, as well as the founder of Elevate Life Coaching. Let's just say that I know a few things about overcoming seemingly impossible obstacles in life and in business. I'm on a mission to be the champion that helps you to get to the top of your mountain, one courageous step at a time. Welcome to the show. There's a lot of strategy and plans, and it's very overwhelming, especially when you first come out. You don't know where to start, and that's very frustrating and that's very painful. And today we are going to talk about my 5 steps. So this is something that I created. It's actually not a secret, but there's no one like really put it close together so that you can see a roadmap of how do I create a message that makes sense, that we put together and that I can share in addition to the niche. So I put together 5 steps to map out exactly how do you put your brand messaging together. It's not something that I created out of the thin air. It's something that had worked many times. It's tried, proven, and tested by Donald Miller, who have used it. So he called it the story brand. But very rarely do you see coaches, and I did my research. I can say that there's not a single marketing coach out there that teach you this simplified way of putting your brand messaging together. A lot of them involve multiple steps, and a lot of them involve you trying to figure out what your ideal avatar is. And so number one thing is I'm actually going to ask you to do me a favor. The first thing that I want you to do today is if you're struggling to find your niche, if you're struggling to have the I help statement, I want you to drop that down for a minute. I'm not saying that it's not important. I'm saying that just put that on the side for a minute. We're not going to go to that immediately. Instead, I want you to start thinking about your overall brand messaging. Like if you think about all the big brand that's been out there, right? There's Coca-Cola, there's Tiffany, there's Coco Chanel. And these big name brand, you don't see their I help statement anywhere, right? But they created a message, they created an image that you can resonate. And the people who buy their product, they can resonate very deeply. And that is because that they created this message that they send out to the world without specifying, hey, this is the person I'm targeting. They don't come and tell me, hey, Michelle, I'm targeting you. You are my ideal client, and this is what I can help you with. You're going to buy this luxurious purse. It's going to make you feel very put together. You're well-established. They don't tell me that, but they send off a very important brand messaging. And so today I want to touch a little bit, and obviously I can't do this within the time frame that we have. So today I want to talk about how do you use the 5 steps to put that message together, which will allow you to identify that I help statement. So drop your niche on the side for just 1 second, right? So I know a lot of marketers, they will push you to, you need to find your niche, the riches is in niches, but let's just say that let's ditch that niche for a minute. And I'm going to teach you the 5 steps of how to create that brand and messaging. So from that, you can find your niche market. Okay, sounds good? All right. So we're going to go right into it. So if you want to grab your pen or you have your notepad around, I would love for you to write down these 5 alphabet. It's B as in boy, R as in Richard, A as in apple, V as in Victor, and then E as in Edward. So 5 words, okay? We're going to go through each one. B-R-A-V-E. What does that spell? It's spelled brave. And when you have a business and everything seems like a hurdle to cross, you really have to show up and being brave, right? There's going to be a moment where you're sitting there and you're anxious about finding clients. And there's other times where you need to pitch yourself. You need to go out there and you need to maybe talk to the people who might invite you as a speaker or going on to other people's networking events. intense. So there's a lot of fear, hesitation, and not sure what to do, but we all show up. We can do brave things together. So acronym BRAVE, BRAVE. So the first is B, right? What does B stand for? If you were a cartoon character, and I asked this question on my virtual Zoom link, and I asked people to imagine themselves as a virtual character, a cartoon character. Who would you be? If you were a cartoon character, or if you were a character, who would you want to be? Well, who is that ideal person that you want to be? So I'll tell you mine. When I was in junior high, I think it was a junior high or high school, they had this cartoon and it's called Sailor Moon. You draw out your armor and you transform into this beautiful warrior and you fight the evil forces. And that's what I wanted to be, Sailor Moon, the main character from Sailor Moon. And I was watching a lot of that cartoon and it got me to think, well, if you really think back, my personality is about warrior. It's about fighting. It's about seeing the challenge and I welcome it, right? And so who you pick, sometimes it tells us a lot about your character. Now, why am I talking about the character? When you think about creating that brand messaging and that message that would resonate with your ideal client or ideal audience, you're really talking to one specific person. Like it's hard to imagine. Yes, I know. And this is where a lot of coaches get struggle on is that I don't know who that person is. Like if you were to think about not your status quo, but the future self. Like if you were to imagine your future self, where you are going to be a year from today, what kind of coach are you? And what would you like to be? Now, same thing that applies to your clients. They're not focusing on the status quo. They have this ideal image of who they want to be a year, 3 years, or 5 years down the line. And so in order to create a message that resonates with them, you need to have that image of who that person might need to hear this message. It could be a person that a lot of times when you put a mirror in front of you, it might be you, not current moment, but maybe it was a year ago, 3 years ago, before you became a coach. And that one person needs to hear your message. So even if you can't think of anybody right now, think of one person that you would like to speak to. Okay, whether it's a woman, maybe it's a working professional, maybe that person is struggling with just having a bad relationship breakup. Who is that one person who needs to hear your message? So have that picture in mind, and that is your believable character. This is someone who you pass by on the street. That person looks like she's going through something. I wish I can talk to that person. Great. Have that person in your mind. That is your believable character. So stop chasing someone that you have the imaginary come up who that person is. Just one person that comes up to your mind. Maybe it's a client that you have worked in the past and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this would be my perfect person if she agreed to sign up with me. So that's your believable character. That's first letter, B. Once we have that image in our mind, then the next step is the R, right? We want to create something that's relatable. So when you think about that person, what is that person going through right now? I was talking to someone in the elevator the other day, and this woman, she looked sad and she looked kind of depressed. And I asked her, what's going on? What happened? How's your day? And she started getting into this teary eyes and she was telling me, I was struggling in this relationship for a while. And then I was just texting this guy this morning and he's not replying my text. And all these excuses start to come up to my head. I'm thinking, why wouldn't he reply? All he has to do is just really tell me like, oh, I'm not interested. I don't want to see you anymore. I would have been okay with that. But here she is stuck in the elevator and she was talking to me and she got all teary. And so from that, if you're a relationship coach, then you can totally resonate, right? That is a moment where you go and start creating that safe space. But the reason why I'm telling you this story is that you want to see that person and meet that person where it is using something that's relevant in her life. Right now, she's struggling with relationships. So talk to her about relationship. Maybe you had a bad relationship in the past that you can use it to encourage her, to empower her, to connect with her. Yeah, I totally get it. Back when I was in my 30s, my 40s, I remember, I went out a couple of days and people just ghost me. Like, I don't know what's wrong with these people. They just tend to ghost me. And so that's something relatable. Okay. And so far, I haven't talked about the niche, right? So we have the character. This is a woman who's stuck in the elevator, who's struggling with her relationship. And I just happen to have gone through similar experience in the past that I can talk to her about. So that's relatability. R is relatability. How do you connect with your audience? How do you connect with that one person who's standing in front of you? Ask about that person's life. Does that person like to go to, I don't know, concert? Does that person like to listen to music? What kind of music? So you find something that's relevant to that person's life to connect with that person. And so your connectivity is important because you want to break that silence and breaking the ice of, hey, I am human and you are human too. Great. Let's get together and let's connect and let's talk more. Now, the next step is where you talk about and you find out what they're struggling with. Okay. A lot of people go straight into, hey, tell me about what you're struggling with right now. Why would I tell you what I'm struggling? Are you going to sell me something? Are you going to pitch me with something? You haven't even find that connection yet. And you're going into what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish in the next 6 months? That's where the disconnection comes in, right? You want to connect immediately with what is relevant, what is relatable to that person's experience. So I could potentially go into any direction and any audience, and I can talk to anybody. The fact that the first thing I want to know is who am I talking to? Perhaps you're thinking about expanding your speaking engagement, or maybe you're thinking about going to a podcast. The first question I would ask as a speaker is, who am I going to speak to? Why do I ask that question? Number one is I want to know who my believable characters are. Right? Who is that character I need to talk to? And so most of the time, these event planner or coordinator, they would tell me, well, this is a group of professional women and they come together every month. We meet on a monthly basis and we talk about business struggles. We talk about, our business. And so there it is. I know that I have an audience who are professional women who are here because they have a business and they're working on their business. Perhaps they're growing it. Perhaps they're struggling with growing it. I don't know. But at least I know who I am talking to. Now, the next step, if I were to apply the relatability, I would slip myself into their shoes and I would think about, as a business owner, what am I struggling with? Well, there's a lot of things we're struggling with. We're struggling with so many tasks. There's so many to-dos, right? There's so many things that we need to do, not just administrative, but also connecting with our audience, finding where we can promote our business. Maybe social media is another struggle that we're having. Maybe how do I present myself? What is my brand messaging, right? All these are different struggles in different area that I can speak to them about because they also have a business. And as a business owner, I can relate to their experience. So that's the second point, a relatability. So potentially I could be in any type of niche, but as long as I can find that relatability to connect with them. So once I have number two, relatability, is we're going to go to the third key talking point, which is the agitation. Right? Agitation may sound like a negative word, but I want you to think about agitation as something that's status quo. What is their status quo? What is something that makes them feel very uncomfortable and they want to try and get out of? So talk about those agitation. Talk about what keeps them up at night. And if you are in my Attract Client Through Storytelling, the second module, I go really deep into what is it that they're struggling with? So I made all my students go through that exercise in identifying what are some of the pain points and struggles and frustration that they're going through, and how can we present our solution to them to address those pain and frustration for them. So that third point is very important because you need to get into their thinking mind. Every single moment, every hour, every second, we're walking around with our narratives in our head, right? That negative self-talk, the positive self-talk. There's a lot of talking in our head without saying out loud. So what you want to do is you want to be that character. You want to be your ideal client. You want to be that person that you're speaking to, and you want to get into their head by addressing some of the things that's popping up in our mind that we don't necessarily say it out loud. I don't say out loud that, this morning when I woke up, I wasn't feeling confident about this whole life. And I was thinking, well, what if I fumble? What happened if I do sidetrack? And so there's a lot of self-talk that's going on. So your job when you create that messaging is you want to understand what could be some of the narrative that's going on in their mind and how can I speak to that? And that's the agitation part that we're talking about. Okay. And so the first time you do this, you might want to write it down and you might want to sit in a quiet area and just journal this out. That was point number 3, agitation. What are the frustration, the pain point? What is their status quo that's happening? Hey there, coach. I feel you. You're savvy, you're enlightened, you devoted years to honing in your skills. Bravo and cheers to you. Yet, when it comes to marketing, that's just totally not in your zone of genius. So rather than having a system that collaborates with you, you're spending countless hours and energy working overtime, adapting to strategies that just seem to conspire against you. Adding to that pile, you're faced with unending series of no, or even worse, you met with deafening silence. But what if I told you there's a far more superior way to charm your clients and having them say yes even before your first hello? What if your current social media chaos could actually fall into place without ever needing to overwhelm yourself with yet another complex marketing funnel to win over your clients or dishing out more cash to spend on program hopping? What if you had the roadmap in your hand that you could use to build a visible, compelling coaching business that attracts paying clients like bees to honey? I'm getting ready to offer a free 3-day masterclass where I'll be showing you my exact 3 steps on how to go from passion to profit. We're going to breathe life into your unique story step by step with the roadmap, with bravery, and sprinkled with some fun. And who's gonna line up to join this wild ride? Your future paying clients, of course. Ready to learn a simple, easy, and authentic way of building your coaching business? Here's what I need you to do. Head over to ready2.getclientswithstorytelling.com. That is ready to, with the number 2, getclientswithstorytelling.com. And what I need you to do is peek into your email and mark your dates on the calendar and show up to the masterclass live. I will see you in the class. Number 4, fourth step is the victory. So we have the status quo, but again, remember in the beginning of the session, we talked about people don't want to stay in status quo, right? Every single one of us, we dream of the future. I dream about next year, I wanted to take my mom to a Mediterranean cruise because she's been wanting to go on cruise forever. And I was either my work schedule was too busy or we didn't have enough money because it's like $4,000 per person. And we didn't have the money to go. So I was never able to fulfill that dream. And so my dream, my future looks like, oh, I will be able to take her to that cruise. And so finally fulfill my mom's dream, which also fulfills my dream, right? And so we never want to stay at status quo. And same thing applies to that person that you want to talk to, because that person is dreaming something else. And that something else may mean that I'm going to feel more confident when I turn on the live and I'm talking to people, or it may mean that I'm getting a promotion at my job, or even just have job security. I would be able to get up in the morning and I would feel put together, and I would feel that I have the clarity with the direction that in which my life will be. And so that is the ultimate victory where you're going to be able to help your client to go through. So when you create your message, you want to paint that picture of what the future is going to look like. Okay, so we have the status quo, which is the agitation, and we have the victory of where we want to be. And so paint that picture for me in terms of what is my status quo and what would it be if I were to start working with you? So I would highly recommend that you journal down, right? The first time you do it, you probably need to see it. You need to visualize it. So when I do it with my students, I ask them to put it on the piece of paper. And the way that I do it is I ask them to write down their about page, their about story. What is it about you? What was your journey like? And what was that status quo and where your victory was? And with that together, then we can identify your I help statement. And then we can further identify what is your content that you're going to create. Like, what are some of the topics that you're going to focus on when you create content that would establish you to be the expert? So your brand messaging essentially is how you position yourself to become the expert for your ideal client to see, even without having the I help statement. Okay, we're going to get to that I help statement, but start from step number one is you need to have a brand messaging. What is your message? What is that image that you want to create? So we talked about agitation. We talked about the victory. The last one is to execute, right? To execute, to implement, to take action. So what do you want your ideal client to do? Now, most of you are going to come back to me and say, Michelle, I just want them to book a call with me. I just want them to sign up with me. I get it. I totally get it. Trust me, that is the ultimate goal that we're going to take them to. But you need to realize that a lot of people are still hesitating. They're still poking around on your website or maybe on your social media. They're lurking you. They're following you. They want more information. And how we build that relationship so that your potential client is going to hit that button by you being patient and knowing that everything that you create is going to do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Okay. I think a couple of weeks ago, I sent out a survey to some of you. Some of you are in my email community. So you probably got one of the survey that I was asking, what are the 2 questions that you have, which I'm going to answer it during one of the live Q&A session coming up in 3 weeks during the live masterclass. So one of the questions was, how do I add a call to action at the end of my post that would make people want to convert into a client? So the call to action button, most of the time it doesn't work. What's working is before that. It's all the activity that you do before that. And what are you doing before that? So you're basically walking someone from where they are on the status quo to the victory that they can have. And you're helping them to see that there's a possibility of what could be different if they do something differently. And so by the end of your post, you don't rely on the call to action to convert people. You're relying on the content that comes before the call to action to actually get people to see that there's value in signing up with you. Okay. So by the time they get to the call to action, which is your last sentence, what is your call to action? Usually it involves something like, oh, click like, comment, and share so that you can follow me for more. Or it could sound like, here's my calendar. Go ahead and book a call with me, right? That's usually the last line. And there's actually strategy of how to introduce that early on, which we won't have the time to get into that today. But you never want to rely for people to get to the last point and reading, oh, book a call with me. You want to introduce that idea early on by telling them, this is how painful it is. This is what's costing you staying here. And this is what I'm offering you for a different perspective, different view, and different way of living your life. And this could be your victory. Okay. And when they do see that, when you are conveying clear enough message to say that here's the transformation that you're going to have. And by the time they get to the call to action, they're already sold on the fact that you are their expert. You are the person that they need to go and see and find solution with. So your call to action, it's like a no-brainer for them. So you never want to rely on the last line, the call to action. It's a must that you include it, but your heavy lifting should be done before that. Okay. And this is why we go through these 5 steps. What are those 5 steps? Believable character. Who is that one person you would love to serve? You would love to help. And who is that one person that you can speak so relatable to their experience? What is their experience? So the easiest way I teach my students is that you think about your own journey. You didn't just wake up to be a coach just overnight, right? There's some kind of personal development journey that you have gone through. Maybe you were struggling with something that it was so painful. It was so unbearable. You wake up and you realize that you want to do something different. What was that incident about? What was that aha moment about? So write it down, because that is something that's relatable to the person that you are going to serve. That is relatable to the person that you're going to help. And thinking back about that journey, what was really causing that agitation? What was keeping you up at night? There was a lot of moment where I was scrolling through Instagram. I see all these beautiful bodies. I see people, going to the gym, they're working out, they're exercising, and they're very toned and they're beautiful. But when I look at myself, I'm nothing. I don't feel my self-worth. And that was what's causing me to stay up late at night. That was causing me a lot of self-esteem issue, self-worth. But then I finally realized that I don't want to feel this way for the rest of my life. So what did I do? I needed a change. So what is my victory? Maybe it's where you are now, right? A lot of our clients end up working with us because they want something that you have right now. They want something that you have because you're able to do it and you have the right tools and resources to help them to get there. So what is that victory? Paint it for them. And then the last one is execution. What are the action that they need to take? Maybe it's starting today, you're going to write down one journal prompt. Okay, you can give them a journal prompt. Maybe it's starting today, you are going to change the way that you think about yourself or the way that you talk to yourself. So that would be one action that you can use in your call to action. And again, you don't want to wait till the last step to show them how this is possible. So when you put that all together, now that you created a very powerful brand messaging, and that messaging is going to demonstrate your value, it's going to demonstrate who you are, your purpose for your brand or your coaching business. And you're going to also show them that you are human and this is what you are struggling with. And this is how you are able to help and overcome this yourself. And so not only do you create relatability, you create credibility, you establish your expert position because this is something that you have done in the past. And so all these elements add up together. That piece of content is going to create a strong bond. And if you do it consistently, talking about these important elements, your ideal clients is not only going to love you, but you are going to be their go-to expert. And that's where your loyalty, their love comes in. Okay, so let's sum up real quick. 5 steps of creating your brand messages that captures and converting your clients from love to loyalty. 5 steps are: be believable character. You have relatability, right? You share something that's relatable. Maybe it's an experience that you were struggling with. Maybe it was something that you had overcome. And the agitation is the painful or the frustration moment that every single one of us are walking around. We may not say it out loud, but we're thinking about them, right? What are those pain and frustration that your potential client may be struggling with? And what you want to do is you want to write those out. Okay. And again, during the live masterclass, I'm going to walk you through and how to use ChatGPT to help you to do this research. I won't give it away, but there's one prompt that I share with my community member today that is going to really get that clarity in terms of what is it that they're thinking. So sign up. If you have not already, you can go to ready2.getclientwithstorytelling.com today. And this first day of masterclass is on July 21st. Okay, so ready to, number 2, getclientswithstorytelling.com. And then you'll be able to join me during the live masterclass. And the ChatGPT would be one of my bonus sessions that I am going to give. And you're going to walk away with all the prompts that I'm giving you. All right, so BRAVE. Those are the 5 steps of captivating your audience, creating that brand message. And today, I want you to write it down, okay? Write down each point and look at it, okay? If you were to turn this into a sentence, right? How would you describe what is it that you do? You can start with, I help. You can say, my business is here to help you to overcoming these pain and struggle so that you can have the victory. And all you have to do is doing X, Y, and Z. Okay. And there you have it. You have your first version of your I help statement just by going through these 5 steps. And hopefully, when we talk more about the process, the 3 step of get seen, get heard, and get clients, you're having more clarity in terms of how to put this together. I hope this is helpful. Let me know, and I would love to hear what you come up with, and perhaps draft out a 250 or 300 words of journal of what that looks like with these 5 steps. What is your brand messaging? What is that important message that everyone needs to hear? Everyone that you serve needs to hear about. So write it down. And if you're inside my Facebook group, drop it into the group. Let me take a look at it and let me give you some feedback. Okay. And if you're in my email community, just go ahead and hit reply, and I would be more than happy to take a look on your brand messaging. Something that I don't believe anywhere else that you are going to be able to find, because most coaches will push you to find that I help statement and they'll draw you down. You need a niche, but no one ever told you that, niche is not the problem. The messaging is the problem. The messaging is the problem. If you have a niche that doesn't connect with your message, you don't have a message. It's just simple as that. All right. So put it into the comment. Let me know if this is helpful, and I will see you in our next session. Bye. Hey, beautiful. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and found value from this episode, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform and leave me a rating and review. One thing I was struggling in my early years in business was finding the right people to connect with. It feels like I was on this entrepreneur journey on my own. And sometimes we all just need friends who can share our dreams and hopes. Someone who can relate to what we're going through as we grow our business together. If you are a woman coach who is ready to grow your coaching business and looking for strategies to get seen, get heard, and get hired, I want to invite you to come and find me in our community on Facebook at Get Clients with Storytelling. This is a community of women coaches who want to grow a coaching business by creating engaging, visible, and authentic content with storytelling for their business to get more leads and attract more clients. I will see you at our next tea party.